Hey everyone, it's GCU Bill, and this vlog entry is about what I did to prepare. Tomorrow is my first class in the journey, and I've taken the past few weeks to get myself ready. And there were three particular areas that I wanted to be set for, and I'll describe them like this. There is the mental space I had to get set up, an emotional space I had to have set up, and finally the physical space to get set up. So within those three areas, I'm going to go ahead and just break it down to share with you what I did. And maybe it'll help you, or maybe it won't. Maybe you don't need it. So in the area of a mental space, this was the big one. I'll share that when I got out of the Army many years ago, I was accepted to a school. It's been renamed. It's called Augusta University now. But back then it was Augusta College, going to Augusta State University. The name was changing and all that. But anyways, back then Augusta College. And I was leaving active duty, and sorry, phone buzz. So I was leaving active duty, and I got accepted to college, and I took, I took an exam that's required by the state of Georgia, and it said that I was deficient in my writing. And I was like, wow, that's surprising. I've been writing really well. I was a sergeant in the Army. I could write a report. What I particularly did required a lot of writing, but a very specific kind of writing. And that's where I was ignorant, and I didn't realize I had failed. I had been writing what are called sit-reps or situation reports, and these are very condensed, consolidated, very factual and direct communiques about things that are going on. And, the people who are reading them have to read the information and make a very quick decision. So I was quite adept at writing sit-reps and that kind of communication. So I took this test, and while my mathematics were fine, it said I needed developmental work in writing. And I was like, crap. When I got into the course, I'd taken this extra developmental course, I realized my error. What was expected of me at college was very different what had been expected of me in the military. So while I was writing well for the military, I wasn't writing well for academic world, at least at the undergraduate level. So I learned. I studied the game, and I did incredibly well. I graduated with cum laude, so clearly I picked up all my grades. Did really well with that. My writing issue was no problem when I took English and the humanities courses, because I had figured out what was expected and I made an adjustment on my end. So in the same way, my biggest mental worry, mental space concern was my writing. There's a ton of writing involved with academics for a PhD. So in the end, right, the big thing in the end is the dissertation. So I spent the last few weeks studying how to write the way I'm going to be expected to write. So I don't show up the first day of class doing like I did before, looking like a jackass, that I can't put something together in the form that's required. So, different things I did, right, to share, because it may help you. I spent a lot of time reading articles online about the academic voice. That was the term I used. I watched a lot of videos on it. I started doing some word count analysis of articles, looking for the kind of verbs that were being used. I ended up generating about a list of what I would say are 100 quality words and phrases that were in academic writing. And so I've been just mentally trying to prepare myself to make a shift. So I typed a few just to give you an example, because heck, this may not make any sense. I don't know. This is for me, so whatever. So I may have said in the pre-PhD student GCU Bill voice, several theories have proposed to explain, whatever it was. But I have to replace that with something like, recent studies have promoted, Maybe I might have said something like, the consensus has been that, But now I have to have it say something like, prior research generally confirms that, da, 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 da. Or maybe several studies agree that, da, 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 da. So I have had to change that, and I've created for myself a giant list of, hey, Bill, look for these phrases in your text and replace them with things like this. Now, at the beginning, it's probably going to be tough because it's just not natural for me. I've been writing many years. I have my ways. I had to write persuasively in the business context as a professional and through emails and text and stuff like that. And this is different. And so I'm going to have to be methodical about it and not send anything in until I've looked for these list of phrases that I should do differently. Another thing I did to prepare that was interesting is I found this video on YouTube by a guy named Thomas Bration. I think that's how I said his name. I don't remember now. But he did a daily video blog of his first GCU doctoral residency back in 2017. So thanks to you, Thomas, if by some random miracle chance you happen to watch this. I don't know why you would. But anyways, thanks for doing that, because it gave me, an insight into what it was like when you went to your residency. And the thing that Thomas kept harping on was the difficulty people had around the gap. I'm like, what the hell is the gap? And through studying and, kind of piecing things together, it became obvious what the gap was. And I learned about the 10 strategic points. And I started studying that. And I found my way, after searching and stuff, into PDF files that were for the GCU course called Writing a Research Prospectus. I was like, damn, look at this. There were like 10 PDF files. I don't remember the number, but it was like breaking down. So there's a course eventually I'll have to take called Writing a Research Prospectus. And in that, there are these wonderful, long sets of pages that describe the whole thing about writing a prospectus. So I could reverse engineer. There was a whole section on the 10 strategic points. And the 10 strategic points are driven by the gap that Thomas had referred to. So what I ended up doing was I have an area I'm interested in, and it's related to learning and psychology and actually robotics stuff. And I started doing searches for information, but I would tailor it based on what I was reading through this course about how to write a research prospectus. And as I was going through it, it let me refine the experiment, at least the one or the research study that I'm envisioning. Hell, I don't know what I'm going to have to do, but I know the area in general. And this became a narrowing effect for me. And through going through all of these PDF files, reading every word, thinking about what it was saying, through that, I'm going to look here. I had gone through 53 peer-reviewed articles that are related to the area I'm interested in. That is technology-mediated learning, and specifically for me, or at least that this is today, is in the area of robotics being used in a home. Heck, with all this COVID stuff going on, learning at home is going to jump even more. But, because I homeschool my kids, learning at home is important to me. So 53 articles that I've searched and found. And, at first I was pulling up stuff that was 15 years old, 20 years old, but I could read it and heard from Thomas clearly, stuff within 5 years. And through this winnowing process, I'll tell you that by the time I got to, I'd say, Article 40, this was over weeks of time, so it wasn't like one night event, not at all. By about Article 40, I started getting decent at finding the gap. In fact, I was bragging to my wife on one of our walks. I said, hey, I found my first, I believe, legit gap. And then the next day, in my time, I found another gap. The next day, another gap. Holy cow. I started getting good at finding at least what I understood the definition of the gap was. Now, time will tell whether I figured it out. But anyways, I'm just sharing that of the 53 articles that I've consumed so far, it was around Article 40 that I finally got comfortable and confident that I can pull out a gap that matched the conditions that are going to be required if the gap is going to serve as a PhD research piece for GCU. But we'll see when we get there. I will also share that as a data point that around Article 45, I finally got good at being able to discern quality. Doesn't mean I can write quality myself yet, but I could tell by reading an article. Didn't take too long. It's like, okay, I'm seeing the certain words, I'm seeing this and that. So back to this whole thing was about getting mentally prepared, knowing what to write, how to read. That became a part of this. So that was my mental space preparation. I'm trying to keep to my 5-minute rule on this, but God, I was just babbling on. Sorry about that. So how about emotional space? Well, over the past few weeks, I spent time with my family, sitting at the dinner table, and we talked about Dad needing time to study and making sure everybody was prepared. You know, all these years as a homeschool dad, I had been available instantly, and of course, leading sessions with my daughters, taking them through science and mathematics and all of that stuff, and been working on getting them to be self-sufficient learners, and they really are now. It's a beautiful thing. You know, in the other video I shared, my 14-year-old daughter passed the Florida's required PERT test to enter college, and she'll be in. She's actually starting in 2 months. It's wonderful. So she's on her way. They are self-sufficient. But Dad won't necessarily just be there all the time, every moment. And so there's a weaning process. So setting up that, and we've created our rules. We've got a rule of a third. If Dad's in his study space, which I'll talk about, and the door is open, then that means that Dad is studying. If you just want to just generally talk, hold off on that. But if you have an issue or you're stuck or you're studying something, then please do come in. And then if the door is closed, that means you have an issue, but it can wait. It can wait until Dad's finished, and Dad will open the door. Door is closed. If there's any kind of emergency, obviously come get Dad. So it's kind of like in thirds, right? If I'm in my study room, Dad's working on something, just general discussion, let me finish. Door is open, that's one level. Door is closed is another level. So I kind of broke it up into the three. Dad's in room, door is open. Dad's in room, door is closed. Chunk, chunk, chunk. So trying to get them to be mentally ready for that. So it's not just my emotion space, which I actually think is pretty good, but it's theirs. And then I will share that every day I've taken the time out to express my gratitude to my wife for supporting me doing this, and gratitude for my daughters for being willing to and understanding. I guess they really don't have a choice, like the kids, but you know, they're supportive. All right, Dad, you're gonna go up and do your study thing. You know, so now I'm expecting it to go down. So emotionally, I feel pretty good. I'm excited, nervous, but all of the emotions and stuff is just pretty good. Now, lastly, oh my gosh, I'm running over time. Sorry about that. Physical space. So I'm fortunate that I have a guest room in my home, and so I've taken ownership of the guest room and I've made it my study space. I bought a brand new laptop I'm using for this, trying it out. Sitting here, I'm looking out a window, so if you keep seeing me glance, it's because I'm looking outside as I'm thinking about something. I have ordered a whiteboard, but we're still in the knee-deep in the coronavirus delivery disruptions, so it's not here yet, but it'll go right above the computer for me. I got a cork board coming in for the left side, so I can tack things up if I need to. Well, the physical space is good. Looking around, got a fan in here, a light. Yeah, it'd be good. So those are the preparations that I've done. So the three big areas were getting myself mentally and intellectually ready, and then making sure the emotional space is all accommodated, not just mine, but the family around me. And then the physical space, clutter-free, plenty of desk space. Oh, I got myself a fancy headset. I checked out, the way I did it was I did a search on Amazon for what truck drivers use, because I figure if a truck driver can use it, now maybe they shouldn't have over ears, that's not what I'm talking about, but if truck drivers are using it, I figured it would probably work for me to sit in here and do what I need to do. So, let headphones too. All right, there we go. Good luck.